Only on Fox. It's a tool helping one South Carolina city combat a violent crime problem. It's called ShotSpotter, gunshot detection software that uses acoustic sensors. Now, I had never heard of this tool until I recently started seeing it pop up on the Columbia Police Department's Twitter account. In fact, just a couple of weeks ago, you can see in this tweet right here, this is the crime scene, and then they actually posted this. Officers are in the 4600 block of Catherine Avenue. Go on down here. It says officers responded to the scene after receiving a ShotSpotter alert. I've seen this several times, and when they got on scene, they found it was a homicide. And it really got me to thinking, what is ShotSpotter? How does it work? And could it be something really valuable for fighting and preventing crime here in our area? So I headed down to Columbia to interview Chief Holbrook about the ShotSpotter technology. I talked to him about how it works, the cost, and if it has helped our state capital decrease their violent crime rates.
We have a gun issue in this state.
Columbia, South Carolina Police Chief William Holbrook.
And I say that respectfully for every law-abiding gun-owning citizen. But, our challenge is for the ones that aren't law-abiding and have access to guns.
Chief Holbrook doesn't mince words on violent crime in our state capital.
We have a violent crime problem. Violent crime has economic impacts and as well as, socioeconomic impacts.
Chief Holbrook took over the department 7 years ago. His focus was to combat violent crime head on. In 2019, Chief Holbrook decided to incorporate technology into his department's efforts to take down those individuals behind the city's violent crimes.
We just knew that we had to do things differently than we had been to affect change. And, with any kind of technology, there's an expense to it. This is expensive. I felt like we could show a true return on investment with a reduction in gunshot wounds. We know that 3-4% of the population is committing probably 80-90% of our violent crimes, so those prolific offenders is who we focus on.
In 2019, the Columbia Police Department would become the first agency in South Carolina to use ShotSpotter, a gunshot detection system. Chief Holbrook didn't shy away from the fact it is expensive. The city entered into a 3-year contract. The city pays a yearly subscription. The cost broken down here with a total price tag of $1,180,000. So how does it work? It's a system of acoustic sensors placed throughout the city that detect, locate, and alert police to gunfire. In other words, the system hears gunfire and lets police know where it happened.
Where it is based on the number of shootings we have had, over a number of years. We analyzed where our shootings were occurring, and that's where we placed, that's what we consider our hot spot. So that's how we decided where we would put this.
In the pitch from ShotSpotter, they told Chief Holbrook gunfire is underreported. The chief admitted he was a skeptic, but ultimately found there was truth in the statement.
They said, look, gunfire is underreported. I said, okay. They said, no, it's underreported 75-80% of the time. I'm like, there's no way. And the reason I said that is because I know how much gunfire calls for service that we already have. I'm thinking, if 75% of the time it's not being called in, that's concerning. We rolled this out in the spring of 2019, and we immediately saw a validation of that statement. We would get the alert, it would go straight to our officers. We'd wait for that 911 call to come in, and it wouldn't come.
Speaking of that alert, a ShotSpotter alert went off during our interview in the chief's office.
Work at our area hospitals. That was a ShotSpotter alert, by the way, it just went off.
Once the acoustic sensor detects a gunshot, it alerts officers.
It triangulates it, gives them a specific location, it takes them to with about 50 meters of the alert. It gives them directions, it'll give them a map. It'll tell us if it's a high-capacity weapon, meaning like an assault weapon, or handgun. It can make that distinction, and the officers can actually play it. they can listen to the audio.
Chief Holbrook says ShotSpotter has helped with community policing and building trust, where before the community didn't believe officers would come, so they didn't report it.
The police are coming every time. They are collecting evidence. They do care.
The chief says the numbers show ShotSpotter, along with their Crime Gun Intelligence Center, has been a success.
This past year, we collected over 2,000 shell casings. That would be 2,000 shell casings that we probably wouldn't have known about.
Those shell casings are then submitted and used to tie guns to crimes, suspects to scenes, and sometimes help solve multiple cases. The chief says their homicides were down 24% last year, and persons hit by gunfire were down by 11%.
We have absolutely bucked the national trend these last couple of years. You hear a lot about the spike in violent crime, and we have bucked that, and I think it's a direct result of this, this technology.
Now, I did reach out to several local agencies, one of those, Spartanburg Police. They told me today, yes, we have looked into the technology, and they do believe it could be an effective tool when it comes to location and the origin of shots fired. But at this point, they don't have the ShotSpotter technology, and they pointed to that this technology is expensive. You heard that 3-year contract, just over $1 million. Now, the chief down there, Chief Holbrook, says he has seen his return on investment with his crime rates going down. But again, for a lot of agencies, that's a lot of money, and many of them said that is really key to getting this technology into our community. But we could see it in the near future. Again, when you look at it, it's very unique, and it has saved lives down in Columbia and helped put away some pretty serious criminals. You can watch the story again soon inside our free Fox Carolina News app. We'll upload it there. And of course, as we learn more, if ShotSpotter happens to come to our area, we'll be the first to let you know.